Ralph was a simple guy who lived by a set of rules he called the Book of Ralph. Number 1 rule, don't bother Ralph when he's watching A-Team reruns. His ditzy neighbor's new dog was getting under Ralph's collar.
Oh, hi, Baxter. How are you?
Mind shutting up your dog?
Oh, he's just a dog. You know dogs.
I'm not getting no airplane. Oh.
The dog kept ruining Ralph's A-Team mojo. It was time for Plan B. Another rule in the Book of Ralph, weapons are a guy's best friend. Ralph chose a high-powered hunting slingshot.
A slingshot can reach the velocity of up to 200 miles an hour, up to 100 yards. Enthusiasts have taken down as large as a deer or a boar. The slingshot has also been modified to do fishing, and they have been known to take out a shark of up to 365 pounds. Imagine that.
Ralph loaded a .38 caliber steel ball into his weapon and fired away. Dog down. The Book of Ralph states, after committing a crime, hide all evidence. But check it out, Ralph. Here on 1,000 Ways to Die, we got our own book of rules. One of them says, if any asswipe messes with one of God's creatures, be prepared for a cosmic slap. Upside the head.
Our poor ladder climber, falling backward, catching his leg, and he smashed the back of his head into the floor. The blood is coming downhill. It goes by gravity, so it's going to pool much more rapidly. It's actually going to squish the soft, fleshy part of your brain. The heart and the lungs stop, and you die.
Ralph was a loser who thought a long-canceled TV show was important.
I'm not getting no airplane. Oh.
But he broke one of our rules and paid with his life. Don't pity this fool. People don't always become sociopathic jerks.
You wearing a bra with that?
Sometimes they're born that way. Lee was not only a first-class jerk.
Call somebody who cares, sir. Have a nice day.
He was also a poster boy for incompetence.
Oops.
I'm afraid we're gonna have to let you go.
But in today's world, you need to be careful when you fire a nut job like Lee.
You're gonna regret firing me.
Because that may be just enough to turn a jerk into a killer. There are an average of 500 workplace shootings in the United States each year, and Lee was about to add his name to the list. His weapon of choice? A single-shot bolt-action rifle.
Single-shot bolt-action rifles have a much easier way of being assembled and disassembled as opposed to a semi-automatic weapon. The other thing that makes them different is that the rounds are loaded and ejected manually by the shooter. The value of having a rifle that really doesn't self-eject brass is that the shooter decides when that brass can be ejected, so that won't compromise his position to prey or an enemy sniper.
But today, Lee had much more than an itchy trigger finger. It was allergy season, and he was suffering from a full-blown bout of hay fever. Lee didn't know it, but he was one of 5% of people with severe allergies to oak pollen. By the time his boss stepped out of the office, Lee was suffering the effects of allergy-induced vertigo.
In this individual, who's in a tree with likely tens of thousands of pollen particles, it only takes minutes to develop a severe allergic reaction. He developed a sense of vertigo caused by allergic inflammation in the ear canal. He felt a sense of dizziness and subsequently fell from the tree. The fall from the tree resulted in the compression of the cervical spinal cord, causing the person's paralysis and subsequent death.
Lee was an angry bird.
Call somebody who cares, sir.
Who didn't like what he heard.
I'm afraid we're gonna have to let you go.
So he climbed a tree and squeezed, then sneezed. It doesn't take much analysis. He died from instant paralysis. Cedric was a rock and roller in dire need. His tour bus had just broke down in Provo, Utah, and he was out of drugs.
This isn't happening.
If you've ever tried to score drugs in the Mormon-centric Provo, you'd know how big a problem this was.
I'm all out of drugs here.
One of his roadies had a suggestion.
Yeah?
I know a way you can get high off your own ass.
The roadie was referring to something called Jenkem.
Jenkem is a recreational hallucinogenic drug made by fermenting raw sewage. This would include defecating into a container and sealing it and then huffing it. Hydrogen sulfide gas is produced as a result. It's then inhaled, which is what causes hallucinations.
Soon enough, Cedric was rolling down his own Hershey highway. For the next few days, Cedric went on a Jenkem bender.
The high from Jenkem is very similar to that of, say, Rush or glue or, paint. And what it is it kind of gives you a hallucinogenic, kind of psychedelic high. I would much rather be high than to be sober. So if I didn't have a choice, then I'd do it.
Unfortunately for Cedric, his ass stash went dry.
Come on, give me something. Oh, Victoria Station. Come on.
And then, a vision.
Ah, yes.
The mother lode was standing right before him. The tank full of fudge sludge was sending him into Jenkem nirvana. One more hit, and he would become one with number two. The cloud of ass gas was too much. Cedric suffered a brownout, passed out, and then went lights out. In the 1970s, Soviet Russia didn't have rock stars. They had chess grandmasters. If you wanted special treatment and all the perks of the Communist Party, you just had to beat everyone else in the world at this brainiac board game.
Это изобретение отличная шутка.
Meet Nikolai. He was on top and wanted to stay there. He knew his next loss could find him in the deep freeze of Siberia.
It's a really big deal to play chess in Russia. In the Soviet era, it was in fact completely state-supported, and so no one had to worry about earning a living. They just had to learn about playing chess very well.
Nikolai was about to play the most important match of his life. His opponent, the Comrade 5000, a chess-playing computer. Its inventor had boasted his machine could outplay any human, even the unbeatable Nikolai.
Concourse prohodit 7 rounders.
The Comrade was able to move its pieces on a powerfully charged electromagnetic board. Soon enough, Nikolai realized he was involved in the game of his life. Or for it. Each move brought the Comrade closer to penetrating Nikolai's strategy. Nikolai started to sweat profusely. He had the Comrade in check and went in for the kill. But it was Nikolai who went down.